And you are live. Wow, it's a live stream. Fantastic. Cool. So, okay, let me switch back to Russian, actually. Итак, всем привет. Сейчас мы ждем, пока все к нам присоединятся. Мы сегодня будем вести стрим на английском языке, потому что у нас будет англоговорящий спикер, который не понимает по-русски. Вот, поэтому еще одна возможность протестировать, как вы хорошо знаете или понимаете английский язык. And while we're waiting, when people are joining us, so maybe tell me, let's just do a small talk.
Hi everyone.
Hi everyone. Let's do a small talk. So how's the weather today? Do you like it?
It's great. It's sunny in London for a change. So yeah, I don't think you guys can see it, but it's really good. It's quite good. Quite warm.
Yeah. Quite warm. Yeah. What about the area? Do you like the area?
I like the area. Yeah.
Where we're shooting.
It's really good. Yeah. Very modern. It's pretty cool.
Can we talk about maybe Shoreditch a little bit?
Shoreditch. Yeah. So Shoreditch is where I live, and it's really nice. It's like the hip place in London, full of like bars and restaurants, and it's a little bit busy though. It's a bit noisy, but I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, nice. That's good to hear. All right. Hi. Yeah. Hello. Hi everyone. So let me switch.
How do you say hi in Russian?
Oh, say привет.
Привет.
Good.
Привет.
Good. Very good. Oh, they're replying. You see as well. This is how it's written. Привет. So we see your comments, by the way. Feel free to ask questions. I'll pick up the best questions and I'll address it to Andrea to answer. Hey, you can, by the way, you can ask questions in Russian, but it's better if you do it in English so Andrea can read it as well. All right. Cool. So I think it's time to start.
Yeah.
And let me actually pass over to you. And my first question will be, Andrea, can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, okay. So привет. So my name is Andrea. I am originally from Brazil, and I've been a designer since 2002, I would say. I've literally only done this in my entire life. Like I started as a graphic designer, and now I'm a lead product designer at Meta. So if I get unemployed, I don't know what I'll do because this is the only thing that I know how to do. But yeah, so I'm currently working at Meta as a lead product designer here in London. And so far, so good. I've been there for a year and a half. And prior to Meta, I worked at many other places that we can talk about.
Yeah, we definitely will talk about this. But before, maybe let's talk a little bit about your career journey, because I'm pretty sure it's quite interesting. And maybe you can tell us actually how did you decide to be a designer, how it started,
right?
And then the second question will be, how did you get your first job as a designer?
Okay, in tech.
Product
designer. Okay. So I started out as a graphic designer. As I said, I went to college for advertising because I always was like a creative kid. I was always into visual design and music, movies, photography. So I decided to go to like a design school because that was like the closest to something creative that I could find. And then eventually I got into web design and graphic design. But I was never very into coding, so I decided to go really towards visual design. And then back then, I started my career working at advertising agencies. So I worked at let's say art director, which sounds fancy, but I mean it wasn't. So I worked at lots of agencies, really good ones, like high profile ones. Learned a lot about storytelling. I feel like this is something that it's kind of an advantage that I have, that I worked in advertising, because you learn to sell your vision to your clients. And this today, like in tech, is very important, right? When you're trying to sell your vision to stakeholders as well. So I went through that. And then at some point, UX became a thing. And do you remember that?
What's here? Do you remember? What was the
I'm
year?
terrible with years, but it
Okay.
was like, I don't know, 2010 maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
Or 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah, so UX, I was working at agencies, no tech, no product design yet. And then UX became a thing. And then everyone was talking about UX design.
Mhm.
And at the time, I was working as a UI designer. So that was my title, UI designer. And I liked the fact that I would do UI design, like visual design, but I didn't like that I would have usually an information architecture, like this person coming up to me with a wireframe, with all the vision ready, all the strategy
ready.
Everything's ready, and then I was just painting the wireframe, and I hated it, and I really wanted to step up. So that's when I became a UX designer. I started to learn and study about like user psychology, information architecture.
Yeah, how did you study? Like, was it like a courses or books?
No,
or
no. I was always self-taught.
Self-taught.
So this is like Brazil 10 years ago. So we didn't have many resources. So I couldn't go to I couldn't go to school. I mean, I don't even think we had schools back then for UX, UI design. So I was always very curious about everything as well. So I would just go online and like Google UX design, and just, like within a few months, I built a list of really good websites to study information architecture from. I remember there was this lady, her website was called UX Lady or something like that. Her name was Susan something. She has PhD in psychology, and then she teaches about like user psychology. So I just went straight to the source of this knowledge. Jared Spool, like all these people from design that were like the gurus at the time. So I was very committed to study. And then one thing that I did that was very helpful, I don't know if you guys still do this today, but I did back in the time, was that I had a friend. He had a small like app development company, and then it was just him as a developer and a bunch of developers. So they needed to have a designer to build the apps that they were developing. So I started to do work for free just so I could build up a portfolio. So this really helped me to start my career as a UX designer. Because imagine, I didn't have any portfolio, so how do you get to build one? So I was doing lots of like freelance work and all of that. And then that helped me to have a good portfolio. And then I started to apply for UX roles. And then eventually I got a job there.
Yeah, and so you started actually when you had your portfolio, right? When you had some works and also the experience. So it wasn't something like, hey, I want to be the junior UX designer.
No.
And probably you realized that it's really hard. It would be hard for you to find the opening position, or pass the interviews, right? Just because you need experience and you need something to share, right? Some work. So that's why I think it just leads us to a really good advice from you that, and I also agree with that. So that if you want to start your career or you're switching to from one field to another field, then it's better to have something already, even if you are like a junior, to have something. Knowledge, yes. Experience, it's really good if you have experience. And also in our case, like portfolio works, like whatever.
Yeah, just like partner up with someone or do some, like we used to call like ghost work at the time, when you just have an idea for an app and then you just create a case study around that. But just have something that people can see,
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a quite interesting story. And I think it's again, it leads us to my next question that I wanted to ask you. And this question, it will be about big big tech companies, because you are a professional now. You're an expert, right? You work in such a good, famous places, which is amazing. And my question, we definitely will deep dive into some of the companies from your portfolio. But before, maybe you can tell us what are the main pros and cons working at big tech companies for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I worked at, so far I've been at Meta, I've been at Apple, and then I've been to companies like Booking as well. Booking.com. It's quite big. And I think I made a conscious decision in my career to really switch from small and medium-sized companies to big companies like big tech. Just because so the pros, what I really like about it, it's one, the stability. I feel like these companies are in a very good, industry position, business position. I mean, I know we're going through this huge crisis right now with a lots of, things happening. But usually the bigger the company, the more stable they are in the market. So this is one thing. I also love the fact that you have cross-functional partners from all the disciplines. So you can really focus on being a product designer, being a graphic. For example, when I used to work at the smaller companies, me as a designer, I would do research. I would recruit people, write a script, interview them, analyze the research findings, and then you have to design, you have to pitch, you have to, do a little bit of
many things,
many things, like
right?
quality test as well. Like I remember we would have a few hours where we would just be testing the MVP on the app to see if there's any bugs. So you're a generalist, you do everything. And I feel like for someone who is starting, it might be a great chance because you get to learn from, strategy to QA. But I mean, just the older you get, you just want to focus on one thing at a time. And I really like to surround myself with people that are smarter than me. I know this is cliche, but it's true. And I like to have cross-functional partners. Like I like to work with a content designer, with a UX design, with a UXR designer.
Right.
I think it's better.
I think it also means that you're really a team player, right? So you don't you don't prefer to work as a solo, right? Because I know there are designers who actually prefer this style, which is also okay. Because in some industries, in some companies, this is the way how you can build also good products. But also based on your story, it's more about the team, the collaboration, the responsibilities. Because I can see that you want to be like in an octopus, but in a good way, of course. Taking different parts of the pie.
Yeah, and I love, exactly, being a team player. And I really like how you're working with amazing, smart people. I feel like because you're just surrounding yourself with great people all the time, and you're really, collaborating with them. Exactly, it's not just you making all the decisions. You have to listen to maybe 5-7 other people who are great at it. Something else that I really like is the impact as well. So it's really good to work at products that, are just reaching millions, billions of people. And then you can see the feedback of your work, right? Like every release that you have, you can see how people are using that. You can see on social media and commenting about that. So you really feel like you're just doing something that it adds more value, I think.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Also, I'm checking the questions that you guys are sending, and let me ask you one of these questions. So the first one is it possible to pass the interviews without a portfolio?
No, I don't think so. I never seen that. Because you first of all, you in every job interview, you have the portfolio review stage, right? So you have many steps that you go through, and one of them is a portfolio review. So you need to showcase some work. And the higher the position that you're applying for, the more complex they expect the work to be. So you need to have something. You don't need to be. So one thing here to say, you don't necessarily need to show quantity. Lots of people, they think, oh, I need to have 5 projects, 4 projects. If you have 2 projects, that's good enough. You can easily get a really good job with 2 projects, but they need to be very dense and tell a good story and cover all the corners.
Yeah, I think I think you're right, but also you can't go and show one project. I mean, in maybe
Yeah,
in
you
some
can.
situations you can,
Yeah.
but for the decision, especially if you have if the competition is quite solid,
Yeah.
it's really hard to make a decision based on just one project in
Yeah.
your portfolio. So it should be at least 2 or 3,
2 or 3,
right?
yeah.
And also I agree that quantity in this case, for example, who are taking like 5, 6, I don't know, more projects, it's quite complex. I mean, you still can do this, but I think it depends also, because so let's say you're applying for the fintech, right? And if you have relevant projects, 2, 3, 4, it would be enough, right?
Yeah, but no one, it's a lot of material to go through, because there are 2 stages. One stage is when you just send off your deck, let's say your portfolio deck, to the hiring manager so they can see it async, right? So when they do this, if you send like 4 projects, that's a lot. Like imagine you're just reviewing so many portfolios, and it's like every portfolio has like 4 projects. That's just a lot. I think if you just have like 2 or 3, and if you really cover all the steps, all the criteria, you really like work on the problem, the solutions, the impact, then that shows some good storytelling there.
Yeah,
It's better than show 4 projects and then you're missing like how did you get to this result, why you prioritize this over that. You're missing elements.
I think we're actually touching a really good topic now, and I also have this question. It's about in general interviews. So the question is, Andrea, can you tell us, based on your experience, how can we as a candidate successfully pass the interviews, all the stages?
Oh my gosh, so many stages.
I know. How can we pass all the interviews in a big tech, right? So
In a big
I
tech,
don't
yeah.
want to mention any specific company, but just in general, if we're talking about big company, like popular
Meta,
companies.
Google, all of this. Yeah. So there's a few caveats to this. The interview process in big tech like Meta, Apple, Google, it's a very long. There's lots of stages. Every company has a different process, but they do have some similarities. So things you have to be prepared of is one, portfolio review. You're gonna do this regardless. Another one, design challenge. All of these companies at some point they give you a design challenge that you're probably gonna do live, like on the whiteboarding setup, or it's like a homework. But you gotta prepare yourself to like solve a design challenge. Then you also have some behavioral questions, which is just like the culture fit, just to getting to know them. I would say these 3 are the big ones, right? Portfolio review, be able to talk about like your work, and then prepare for some challenge, design challenge. How do you prepare for this is, for me personally, I think it's a combination of maybe 2 things. One,
Secrets.
Yeah, it's a secret thing.
Let's reveal it.
So one thing is, of course, the technical side of things. So you really need to understand the technical of it. And the other one, it's all about the mindset. I think it really works. I think this is the secret, actually. So talking about the first one, the technical side, you can easily go online and learn about, all the frameworks to create a better presentation, how to tell a better story. So this is something you have to study and practice. How to present a good case study, how to improve your storytelling skills. It's all about storytelling as well. You don't want to just tell a process like, I did research, I created personas, I built a wireframe. Like, this is boring. And also everyone does this. So you want to make sure you talk about the intentionality behind it. Like, okay, what was the point of having a persona? Why did you do the user journey? Like, the intentionality is more important.
So let's frame it. That's every time we need to answer to the why question.
Yeah,
why
the
I
why,
doing this?
exactly.
Why
Why didn't
I created the personas?
One
or
thing,
why I did the research, or why I put these metrics as my main KPI or whatever.
Yeah. So one thing I like to do, one good exercise that I like to do when I'm putting together my deck, I have one slide. I always think, why am I adding this slide there? Like, why is this slide there? Let's say the slide is about the success metric, and I have some numbers there. Primary metric, conversion, increase 10%, right? I ask myself, why am I showing this? It's not just to say, okay, it increased by 10%. It's to show how the impact on the user experience, blah, blah, blah. And then when I'm presenting the slide, I don't read what's on the slide. I tell the story of why. Because the person who's watching your presentation, they can already see what's on the slide, right? So you just don't want to repeat what they're seeing. You want to give them the behind the scenes of your decision-making process. So this is something that I think it's a good advice. Like if you have a slide about your audience, your personas, audience, whatever, you don't want to say, yeah, so my audience was yoga teachers from London. Like they already seen this on the slide. So you want to say why you had to segment your audience. You know, why? Because, you know, we had less budget. We really needed to be assertive about our audience. And then we had just to focus on a niche. So just give the why, I think it's better.
Wow.
But going back, so this is one side, like the technical side, like prepare yourself to tell the story of your portfolio. And then when you're doing the whiteboarding challenge, there's also kind of like a framework, and the framework exists more so because you're going to have like 30 minutes to solve that exercise. So you just want to make sure that you're following a smooth
steps.
Just following like that. You show your rationale in a smooth way, because you don't want to be like this really like it's bad for you. Like they really pay attention to how you communicate your ideas. So you don't want to be like, let me see. You really want to, you know, communicate, like be fluent. So the framework helps for you to create this line of thought, like, okay, so here's the problem, here's the use case, here's some opportunities, this is how we prioritize the opportunities, this. So you kind of follow like step by step. So it's just a clear communication.
It's really good to write down everything that you just said, because this is kind of like the secrets, or maybe not the secrets, just the thing how you can really successfully pass these stages at least. And
there's also, sorry that I forgot to mention,
please.
Which is for me my favorite part, that is about did I say like vibe or
vibe? You can say vibe.
No, I said mindset, which is the mindset. But for me it's a mindset / vibe. And I heard this from a designer. I was talking to someone from Meta, by the way, and then we were just talking about something, and then this person said to me exactly the same thing. And I really think it's important for you to be in a good state of mind and show that you have a good vibe. Because again, when we are interviewing so many people, and most of these candidates, they have the framework, they have everything. Everything's kind of the same. So how do you choose the right person? So there's this thing that we call a cultural fit. And it's pretty much like, will I want to work with this person? Would I like to work with Eugene? You know, like if I have Eugene and I don't know, John, they both have the same skill set. Like, how do I choose between one and the other? And this is about like, I think this person has a better vibe. I think it would be better to work with them. So it's good that you show that, you know, a little bit of charisma, that you're a nice person. So try to be, I know everyone gets very nervous, but try to, you know, be in a good mindset, be positive. Like there's a lot of people that I see, they're very like negative about everything. I'm like, okay. So try to be positive, try to be, you know, in a good spirit, and just show, you know, that you're very passionate about. This is something that counts a lot, when you show that you're really passionate about the company and working there.
I think it's definitely good advice. And also, I think I have to mention that it works also in the opposite way. So you are as a candidate, and when you're interviewing, you can also feel that the vibe that comes from the team. And sometimes you can feel that something is wrong, right?
Exactly.
So it means you wouldn't get this much, right? Like this perfect match that should happen.
That's great.
And that's also a sign for you that maybe even if you are like success in terms of like passing the interviews. So maybe something's wrong with the team or with the team culture, or maybe the process.
It's not a fit sometimes.
It's not a fit, and that's okay, right? So because for you, it's of course, it's also, you have to choose what's right for you as well, right? So don't forget that you're also choosing, right? So it's not about the company. So it's quite important, because you can pass the interviews, you can get the offer, whatever, right? And then you realize that, oh, my team is not perfect for me, and it means sooner or later you'll say bye anyway. So
I can tell a story. For example, when I can tell a story, it's okay. When I was interviewing for Meta, it was a very long process, just because you first go through an interview, and then you have the team fit, the team match. So you're pretty much interviewing, but you don't know which team you're going to work on. And then I remember actually that I was interviewing, in this particular interview, I was interviewing for WhatsApp. So I knew that like I was applying for a WhatsApp position, and I really didn't like, like I didn't like the vibe. I think I thought everyone was very serious, and then just like how they made decisions, because WhatsApp, it's like they have billions of users, so it's not that you can go there and be so bold. You have to be very conservative about the choices, and every release will take ages. And
that's why it's so bad, right? I'm joking.
I mean, I prefer Telegram. I have to say, it's much better.
I know.
But anyway, it was like that. Like I was also interviewing them, and then I felt like, I don't know, I'm just not vibing with these people, I feel, not the people, sorry, but with the culture of the team. And then I decided to go to another product within the company that I thought it was a bit more, my fit.
And so what did you do? You just like say, like, sorry guys.
So I decided to interview with another team. With another product.
And then that was like a perfect fit for you, right? Like
it wasn't quite. No, it was. So I spoke.
At least it was better.
I switched. So I went from WhatsApp to Messenger, and then Messenger is way more fun. Like they focus more on the craft, on the interaction designs. They are a bit more bold when it comes to all of this. But then when I got the offer, they already had filled the position, and then I had to go to another team. But anyway, but I feel like this is a good example of like sometimes you also notice that it's not a good fit for yourself as well.
Also, getting a couple of questions that I want to address you as well. So Sophia is asking, do I need to have a bachelor's degree in design to work at FAANG or big tech companies?
No, not at all. Like,
so, let's talk about this topic, about the degree and in general education.
So everything comes down to how they measure your skill set. When you're a product designer, they measure your amount of knowledge by having the portfolio review. So you gotta have something to show. So even if you don't have like academic education, you can always, like me, like have done freelance work and so on. So it's not something that counts a lot, to be honest with you, and I never had any issues with that. I also know lots of friends that don't have an education. Do you have one?
No, I can tell about myself. So because I also a self-taught designer, and I think it's completely okay not to have like a special degree, because in our case, especially if we're like designers, or actually in general if we're working in IT, we can prove ourselves by just showing our projects. And this is actually leads us to like a couple of questions back, where we talked about the portfolio, the projects, the storytelling, and that's the main key, right? That you want to show, because the education, it's good to have. It's, of course, I think it's worth to go to the courses to get some degrees if you have time, for sure. But I can't say that this is the main thing, the main how decision is made.
So when you're interviewing, whenever you have one-on-ones with them, that you're just talking about design and how your process looks like, that's when they are accessing how knowledgeable you are. So again, regardless if you had an education or not, I mean, you do have to study somehow, like being self-taught, but you don't need to show a degree. I don't think I ever hired anyone just because they had a degree.
Right. Same. And quite similar question is, so is it fine start learn UX UI by self right now? I mean, there are so many courses, resources, but how I know what is right and good for my future job?
in terms of learning on the
I think
course?
it's yeah, in terms of learning.
Well, there's a lot. Repeat the question again. Let's go.
Yeah.
'Cause
So
I
I
want to
think
make sure I understand
I
what
know,
you're
I know.
saying.
So let me read it again. Is it fine to start learn UX UI by self right now?
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many courses, free sources, but how I know what is right
Which
and,
one is
and
right?
good? Yeah,
Yeah, because there's a lot of things out there.
Mhm.
Well, I do offer one-on-one coach sessions, so you can book with me.
Please,
No.
I'll put a link.
I think there's lots of resources out there, and most of them I think they're a little bit similar when I start to compare like this agenda for like if you go to Udemy, what's that one?
Udemy, yeah.
Udemy or something like that. They usually have like similar structure, so they teach you about design thinking, like design processes, like how to conduct research. So if it was me right now, if I was a junior, I don't think, like being honest, I don't think I would spend lots of money. Like, because I have friends, they pay like 1,000 or 2,000 US dollars for like an online course. And I think that's a lot of money.
Crazy.
And there's a lot of material for free online or even like for cheaper. And you can do one-on-one with like designers who already work in tech like me or whatever. Like when I remember I used to approach designers from Google, from Meta back in the days and be like, hey, can you have like a 1-hour chat with me, give me some tips? So I think there's ways for you to learn that you don't have to spend so much money. But how do you know which one is the right one? You have to, just do them. Like, find something that you think
find
you can
reviews,
give.
maybe,
Reviews.
the feedback.
Yeah.
And I think it's also quite important thing to understand that if you are like in a rush, let's say, if you don't want to waste time, in this case, sometimes courses are good, right? I mean, like, let's say paid courses, just because the information is quite packed instead of looking for free resources, because of course you can do this, and also you kind of need to be a little bit as an expert to understand what's good, what's bad in terms of like these resources. You need to spend time to find this and then to filter it. So I think it can be challenging, I would say, but it doesn't mean that you don't need to do that.
Yeah, that's true. One thing that I would say that I used to do a lot is try to consume material from designers working where you want to work as well. So try to find, designers from, I don't know, Google, Meta, Apple, that they create content online. They have like a podcast or they have a YouTube channel, and try to learn from them. Because I feel like, especially nowadays, there's a lot of people on Instagram. There's a lot of, just like people that sometimes don't even have the experience working in product, and they just like teaching you whatever, just reading the book. So I think it's good to go to like professionals to learn from them.
So what you mean is like subscribe to this channel, put
Exactly.
likes, right? Cool. All right, so moving to the next topic. So, and thanks for answering these questions. So I think let's talk about your current company, and then we'll talk about your current position. So let's start with the company, right? So right now you're working at Meta. And a couple of questions that I received recently was about the process, right? So it was like, what's the process inside? How's your day-to-day look like? Let's talk about this one. So maybe you can describe how do you get tasks, or how do you prioritize projects?
So maybe we can start with the process. Maybe
let's start with the process.
So I would say that working at Meta, every team has a different process, but usually Meta, it's a very, I see it's a very data-driven company. It's a company that, we have billions of users. So every decision that we make needs to be very assertive, and needs to be very intentional. We can't just do things because we think it will be not like, so to be very intentional about every decision, there's a very strong focus on what we call like the understand phase. And then the understand phase is pretty much a research phase that happens in the beginning of every project. So usually the process is a little bit like this. So you have the company business goals, just like every company, and then your team needs to work on a roadmap on like what do we think are the best opportunities to solve that problem. And then when you're trying to understand the problem space, then you work with your UXR, like user experience researcher, and data scientist and marketing partners to really get data insights on the problem space. So usually this is a very important phase where we learn about the problem. And this is all about making sure that you're solving the right problem. Because sometimes we think, okay, this is what we need to solve, but we got to make sure that we invest in money and time in the right problem. So once we know that if we solve that problem, this is the return that we would have, like this is the impact that we would have, then we start to move to the next phases that are, let's say, design discovery, design ideation, and we start to develop the solution and work on building that solution. But I would say that one of the things that I learned working at a huge scale company like Meta is lots of focus on understanding the problem space. So you're making sure you're working on the right thing, and then you start to address the opportunities for that. Does it make sense?
It does make sense, yeah. But if it doesn't, always feel free to use YouTube. Yeah, ask questions, and Andrea can answer these questions. Cool. And maybe so talking about the process, right? So maybe you can describe how your day looks like.
Yeah. So we work on a team, a multidisciplinary team. So you work with a product manager, engineers, researchers, content designers, and so on. And the day-to-day changes pretty much depends which phase are you in the product development cycle. So let's say if you're on the understand phase, then the focus is on research. So you probably spend 3 months just focusing on the research, gathering the findings, and really creating a point of view on what is the best opportunity that we have. So usually on that phase, my day-to-day would be more around working in collaboration with UXR and PM to understand, to map out, to create lots of documentations around what is the problem that we're trying to solve. Like we really need to understand that. And then once we have a clarity on the problem that we're solving, then we move to the ideation phase. And that's when design shines, because that's when you start to run lots of workshops with your team to brainstorm on ideas, to create site flows, user flows, really brainstorm on solutions, sketch solutions, and then think about the opportunities. And then you also start to prioritize the opportunities. How you prioritize the opportunities, you can work together with your data scientist. So this is one thing, and your product manager as well, to size the impact of each opportunity. So it's pretty much, I don't know, we think we have opportunity A, B, and C. So data scientists can do like a crazy math there on their code to understand, okay, if we would build this would be the audience that would be affected by this. And based on what we know, this is the prediction that we have that this audience would bring as a return on our primary metric. That is, I don't know, conversion, engagement, so on. So it's kind of like statistics, right? So that's pretty much how you prioritize. There's also, of course, you have to evaluate effort. So I spoke about the impact, and then you have to think about the effort as well. Like how much effort would we have to put to build this? Mainly from an engineering point of view, not so much from a design.
In terms of resources?
In terms of resources, yeah. So then that's when you work very closely with your engineering lead to understand the bandwidth, the headcount of engineers, like what are their capacity to build this and that. And this is also when you start to have conversations around the MVP. So for example, okay, we really think opportunity B, approach B, idea B, it's a great vision. It will give us lots of results because of XYZ. But how can we build this, right? Because we can't just build everything at once. We also need to build up assertivity, like on the idea. So that's when you start to break that down. And then you start, usually we work with milestones approach. So we
Who set up the milestones?
It's the team at Meta. So at
Like
Meta,
your team? Or...
yeah, our team, the team that you're working on. So usually this is something that it's really nice at Meta. I feel like every person on the team, being the product manager, the designer, and so on, they have the same level of accountability. So that means that everyone's pushed to have a really strong point of view on the strategy. So it's not like, because I'm on this team, I have a product manager, the product manager will decide everything. No, like design, engineers, everyone have the same level of the same voice. So as a team, you decide how you're going to do it. And usually you design, let's say, being very like hands-on right now. So for example, I'm a designer. I have this opportunity. I brainstorm with my team on Fig Jam, whatever. We have some ideas. We are very assertive of idea A. So usually I put together a design vision. That's usually a very long, like user flow that touches different surfaces in the product and so on. It's like a very big vision. And then we start to break that down with engineering on like, okay, what is that we can build right now? And then we break that into milestones. But then also I forgot to mention that this is very complicated because usually you also have to align this huge vision with lots of partner teams that are also working on their vision, touching the same screens.
This is where the fun comes.
That's when it gets very complicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how so definitely it's a challenge for you, for your team as well, to do that. And how do you prioritize in terms of like this cross collaboration?
So this is a good question. One thing that we do, and in fact we're going to be doing this in a couple of next weeks, actually, it's very fun. It's a roadmap. We call this like a roadmap overlap session. So how it works is usually two times a year, right? In the beginning of the year and mid-year, each product team, they define their roadmap. And I think this is more or less how every company works, right? So twice a year you create a roadmap, and the roadmap's like, okay, this is what we're gonna this is our goal. This is our goal for the next half. This is something that comes from product most of the time, like top-down product business strategy. Okay. So once you and your team, you have a product vision, like a roadmap, as a designer, this is something that we do there. As a designer, we get together on a workshop session, usually a design sprint, and then each designer presents their roadmap. And after each designer presents their roadmap, we have an activity to kind of like take notes on what are the areas of overlap. So for example, I'm going to be focusing on, I don't know, whatever. Let's say, give me an example, something.
That's what I'm also thinking. We need like the abstract example, right?
Yeah. So let's say we are working on Netflix, right?
Okay.
So let's say I own the playing experience. No, not the playing, like the subscription. The subscription experience. So I share with you my roadmap to increase conversions on the subscription experience, and I probably have some ideas. And let's say you work on the freemium model, on like the free experience for logged out users. In some ways, these like when you think about logged out users, at some point they will become logged in users. So that's when you have to think, okay, I have my strategy for logged out users to convert them into logged in users. Once you convert your users to logged in, that's when my strategy comes in. So we need to think how we're going to work on this overlap moment where the user is becoming logged out and becoming like a subscribed user. So we do this usually during this design sprint. So again, that's why we call it like a roadmap overlap.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
it's
it's fun. So we do this. So everyone share what they're working on. we take notes on areas of overlap. And then the next stage is, okay, how do we solve these areas of overlap?
Okay.
And that's when you start to sketch out, and
you're working together.
We're working together so that's like 5 designers working together on design sprint. And this takes us to the other thing that I love, that's called a visual roadmap.
Okay.
I love this. It's like a visual roadmap. So
finally we came to the sweets. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
After you have, the areas of overlap, and you identify this, and you identify, okay, how we can work together. We brainstorm on how might we, right? Like, how might we do this, and we have to agree on this, right? So we agree that we're going to build the same thing. So this is why we're doing this together. So once we agree we're doing this, like this one solution for the user, we start to create the artifacts, like the UI. And this is the visual roadmap. So the visual roadmap, it's pretty much another vision that we put together. But this vision is only one vision that 5 designers agreed on.
I realized we need a diagram, we need to sketch this.
But it's pretty much, in the beginning, you have, let's say, 5 different teams. Everyone has a vision. So you have 5 visions. Now, after this design sprint, you have one vision that is aligned between everyone. And now, as a designer, now that we agreed on the vision, I'm going to get a piece of that vision that my team owns. So let's say my team owns the homepage and the account page. So I'm going to grab those pages, and then I'm going to bring that back to my product team, to my PM engineers, and then I'm going to try to sell that vision to them. Right. So I'm going to say, hey guys, that vision that we worked, I already aligned with the other teams, and this is what we came up with. Yeah. And that's how. So this is pretty much design leading product strategy.
Right. That's actually that's amazing, and that's a lot.
It's a little bit.
It is kind of, you need to be into this, definitely. So, but I think just to close this topic, can you tell me, and can you tell us, right? So, what do you think? What kind of skills should the ideal meta designer has?
So ideally, I would say right now, a few things that jumps on my mind. Of course, it depends on the team, because, for example, Instagram or like Messenger, as I spoke before, they focus a lot on craft, or like VR, these teams, they're looking for someone with very strong craft, like UI skills, like interaction design skills. So you have to show that you have a really good craft and storytelling as well. But if you're going for a product that is a bit more like B2B, then I would say that showing product strategy skills would be something that would, be better for you. Overall, I would say communication is very important, just because, again, as I was saying, we are working with so many teams at the same time, and pretty much all the same teams are doing sort of the same thing. So you really have to always have this alignment between everyone and making sure, you're driving the same vision. So communication is huge. Prototyping, I feel like it's a very good differentiator right now. I feel like if you have good prototyping skills on either Protopie, Origami, or what is the other prototyping tools?
There is a Principle,
after the fact. Like, if you can show that you can prototype really good animations, this counts a lot. I feel like this is coming back right now, because I feel like at some time, like over the past years, people didn't care so much about, they were thinking more, let me develop my product design thinking skills. But now I see this is coming back a lot. Why? Because everyone has good design skills on design thinking now. So I feel like whoever is good prototyping is really,
full circle, coming back to this.
Differentiating themselves. So communication, prototyping, and product thinking as well.
Right. Wow, that's cool. Yeah. So let's write it down. And that's really cool. You see, I don't have any other words, and I can't actually add anything here as well. So that's why I wanna switch gears a little bit and actually talk about the roles, right? So obviously, when you start your career, you start like as a junior, then you grow to a middleweight designer, then senior lead, etc., etc. And the first question that I have is, so can you tell me what are the main differences to be a senior versus lead designer in a big company?
Yeah, a senior versus a lead.
Yeah.
So I would say that the higher you go, the higher you go in the ladder, it means you are better capable of driving your point of view. So for example, if you're like a senior designer, usually you can work on and focus on specific parts of the user experience. So you usually have, a lead that is building all the vision, and then you focus on specific parts. So as a senior, it's more about executing at a very high level. But I feel like when you become a lead, a staff, a principal, then you start to step in more into the strategy side. So you strategize what it's going to be the full design vision and how we're going to make to achieve that. Like how we're going to do the milestones approach, who's going to work on what are going to be the work streams, how we're going to deliver this. So it's more about the strategy and being able to create a point of view. A point of view is like what I think we should do. So you create your point of view and you're able to sell this and inform the product decision using your point of view. So for example, usually the product manager, they already have an idea what the team should do. Like, I think we should do. As a lead designer, or like the higher you go, ideally you don't want to get comfortable there and just be like, okay, this is what my PM's telling me to do, I'm just going to do this. So ideally what you want to do is also to create your point of view, like what you think the team should do. And then you create a deck presentation or like some prototypes and you create like a vision, and then you try to bring that back to the team and sell that idea to them and try to convince them, kind of like get a consensus or alignment on your point of view. So this is what really makes you stand out, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing answer. And actually we have another amazing question. It's from Albina. It's very, I think, personal question. So she's asking, how did you grow to be a product designer lead? And when did you realize you were ready for this responsibility?
I don't think you realize you're ready. You just do it.
Okay. Yeah. So this is how it's happened to you.
Yeah, I think so. It's just work. It happens, I think, naturally. You just start off as a junior, then you just learn more as you go, and then you end up getting more responsibilities for yourself. Again, as I was saying, you stop just saying yes to what people are telling you what to do, and then you start to develop your point of view. Like you start to bring to the team how you think the team should approach things, and this makes them see you as a leader. Like, okay, this person is also bringing some knowledge. They're not just executing. So all of this helps you to have more responsibility, get a promotion, and all of that. And then you just start to grow.
Yeah. Cool. That's amazing. Actually, let me also bring back the chat and see if we have any other questions. Cool. Yeah, we see. Thanks for answering the hearts. The stream is amazing. Thank you so much. I have another question, by the way. So can I? So I'll read it. So can I ask a question that's killing me?
I saw that.
Yeah. So I'll read it.
Yeah.
So what's the core difference between UX designer and a product designer?
So you have to see this. Yeah, it would be good if we could draw. But pretty much product design would be, in that case, the umbrella. And then you can imagine like product design being this umbrella. And then below this umbrella, you have UX, UI, UXR, which is research, and so on. So UX design is pretty much the study of the user experience, like how people interact with your product, what are their needs, what are their pain points, and how do you solve for those needs and these pain points. So if I'm a UX designer, let's say, I can do work for a design agency and I can build up, let's say, a website. So let's say I have a client, like, I don't know, coffee shop.
Let's
yeah, like over under
Over
coffee
under.
shop. So let's say this coffee shop over under, they hire me to create a website. So I can use UX design to create a website, meaning I'm going to study who their audience is, what are their needs, what are the company goals, what is this website trying to achieve, like what is, the conversion, all of this. So I'm going to understand what is the business need, but mainly focusing on the user needs and designing for that. When you're product design, usually you work on a digital product, meaning the product has a longer life cycle. So it's not just like a website that you deliver once and it's there. It's when we're thinking about a product, we're thinking about apps, we're thinking about, it's mainly applications that have a long life cycle. And you need to understand how more in terms of industry and the business, and what is the long-term vision, the business long-term vision. So you're thinking about, okay, in 5 years from now, where does this company wants to be? What is their goal? You have to take into consideration how the industry is working. So for example, right now we have AI, we have all of this like chat GPT, all of this. How would this impact the business of my company, in the long term, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? So that's why product development's a little bit more slow, because you have to break that into smaller chunks. So anyway, when you're thinking about product design, you think more about the business and the long-term impact on the business, and you have to strategize for that. You have to create a roadmap and so on. And UX is part of it. I feel like UX, it's part of the of the execution phase. When you're executing, you have to think about the UX side of it. But product design has more business on it. I don't know if I explain myself right. But
I think this is a very, very explicit answer, to be honest. And that's why it's good that we're doing this stream, and also this stream is will be recorded, so I'll put it so everybody can rewatch it again, because many very deepful thoughts that I can hear.
So to summarize, if you're UX designer, it doesn't mean you are a product designer, but if you are a product designer, you are a UX designer. You do UX. If you're a product, you do UX, but if you do UX, doesn't mean you do product.
You see. We need to visualize it,
Yeah, you need to have like a
the whiteboard.
You should
Because
I feel like it's good to draw things so people can understand.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And thanks for answering this. And thank you guys for asking these questions. So let me actually read the chat as well, and I'll address a couple of questions. So again, feel free to ask some questions, because now actually I realized it's already 1 hour. So I think we will let's pick up a couple of questions, and then we'll finish this stream. And you guys just let us know if you like the stream and if you want to see Andrea again, maybe part 2. I don't know. All right, so let's see. This stream is amazing. Thank you. Hello, can you please tell us what was in your portfolio when you first started as a junior designer? It's a good question, actually.
Yeah, so when I started as product design, again, I didn't have anything. So I used to do freelance work. So I would reach out to people who were trying to develop an app. And then I would be like, hey, can I design your app? And then that's what I would add into my portfolio. So I didn't do like ghost work, which is like, okay, I have an idea, I'm just going to create an app here. I liked to do like more real things. So that's what I had in my portfolio. It was real case studies of real apps, but how I got to work on those apps, it was for free back then.
Cool. The next question is, so thank you for the stream. I have a question too. Is it possible to start a career from a mid-weight product designer if you owned your own company before that and didn't have a corporate work?
I think so. Yeah, why not? As long as you show that you have experience building a product,
Mhm.
it's that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me also add here. I think it really depends on the position as well, because sometimes you can see that, oh, we're looking for a midweight designer, but there are so many things, so
Mm,
many responsibilities, and you realize that oh, actually, it's really like high skilled position. So probably
yeah.
sometimes it's not like the middleweight, it's maybe like a senior or whatever. And so it really
That's
also
true.
depends on the position, right? And the
Yeah.
company and what do they want, because responsibilities, they can be different, right? If we take a look at the I don't know, 10 positions right now on LinkedIn, for example, saying
Yeah.
like middleweight product designer, some of the items on the list, they will be the same for sure, but some of them, and it can be like 50% of the list, they can be
Yeah.
different. And you're like, okay, so it means that again, you need to find what is for you, what's
Yeah,
like
that's
the
true.
why you are a perfect fit, but also what fits you.
Yeah. Also, when you're interviewing, especially for big tech, and the higher the position, they will look to see if you have experience designing on large scale for very like complex projects. So actually I know people who had their own company and
Mhm.
they interview for like Meta or
Mhm.
companies like this, and they would try to join the company as a very high level
Mhm.
IC or like a
Yeah,
manager,
like
and
manager,
they got,
director.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
got like a mid-level position, and then they were like, oh yeah, but I own my own company, my
Mhm.
own design agency or
Mhm.
something, why am I getting like a mid-level position? It's because you didn't have the experience shipping a product to billions of people at a very large
Mm.
scale company, collaborating with like 10 teams, you know? So it's
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah,
you're saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it means, um, yeah, I mean, you're right. I had something in
Yeah.
my mind that I wanted to say, but then I forgot about it.
But
But
you
you
can
can, you
get
can,
you,
yeah. I think it's
it just
also,
depends the
it
position.
depends the
Like,
position
yeah.
and relevant experience. I think
Yeah.
it's also can be the key for you, right? If you have the relevant knowledge, relevant experience, then of course you can try. First of all, always try, right? And then see how it goes, and maybe that's gonna be good for you. Yeah.
I like this comment here. So having nice charisma is the best.
That's
I mean, it doesn't guarantee that you will get the job, but it really
it's
helps.
good to
It
have.
can
Yeah.
be, it can be a differential in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think I just want to say thank you, Andrea. If you don't mind, I'll switch back to
Sure.
Russian. But
Bye.
thank you so much. And let's see. Maybe we'll see like maybe another question. But so yeah, switching back.
Okay.
Окей. Ну что, спасибо всем, кто пришел. На самом деле, надеюсь, что было полезно. Обязательно напишите, как вам было, понравился ли стрим с Андреем, может быть, чего-то не хватало, может быть, не успели задать какие-то вопросы. Я увидел вопрос еще в самом начале о том, как в целом попасть в FAANG. И я просто хочу напомнить, что в канале, я ставлю тоже ссылку здесь, я запускаю в июне уже 6-й поток о том, как проходить собеседования, в том числе в крупные компании, как проходить их за рубеж, где мы подробно рассматриваем все этапы, в том числе behavioral questions, LinkedIn и портфолио. Очень детально, очень подробно рассказываю, как, что надо делать, что не нужно делать, что говорить и так далее. Вот, все подробности будут в Телеграме. Вот, если у вас есть какие-то вопросы, тоже пишите мне. Старт уже 3 июня. Мест остается не очень много, но еще можно успеть. Окей. Thank you so much again. Really happy
Nice.
to have you here, and yeah, I hope you also enjoyed this
Yeah, it was
conversation.
really good. Thanks everyone. And then you can reach out to me if you want on LinkedIn.
For sure, yes.
Are you
I'll
gonna
put
share? Okay.
yeah, I'll put your
Yeah.
link. So
So
definitely
you can
check
reach
this
out
out.
to me there,
Yeah.
and then, yeah. I
Perfect.
hope you guys learned something.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I also hope to. All right, guys.
Bye.
All right, bye.